In this video, we're going to look at how to use the selection tools to edit your image. So when you first open up your Photoshop file, you'll notice that it defaults to the rectangle marquee tool. What I like to do is hit V on my keyboard for my move tool. This way I know I'm not going to accidentally edit or select the image. And then I'm going to go over to my layers panel and make sure that I'm on the correct layer that I want to use the selection tools on. Selection tools work by selecting pixels in the image. Some of them will let you grab areas. Some of them will let you grab specific colors. Some of them will let you free trace an area so that you get what you want. We're going to start with hitting M on our keyboard for the rectangle marquee tool. If I left click and drag across my screen, you'll see that this creates little marching ants around a selected area. I can move the marquee tool selection. And then once I'm there, I can hit backspace and it will delete the selection for me. I can then go and left click and drag to select a new area, or I can hit Control D on my keyboard to deselect. If you go over to the rectangle marquee tool on the toolbar and you left click and hold your mouse down, you'll see that other options like the elliptical marquee tool, single row, and single column pop out. So depending on the type of object that you're trying to select, you can use these options. So let's say I want to select a circular part of the flower. And then I can go from there. I'm going to hit Control D again. I also have the option of the quick selection tool and the magic wand tool. If I hit W on my keyboard, my toolbar is going to show me one of two options, either a brush that has little dots around it, or if I left click and hold down, an icon that looks like a wand. The magic wand tool will let you select pixels of the same color. So when I left click on the black part, you can see it selected all of the black, and I have a little bit of blue in here. Now I can hit Control D to deselect and try this again. Still grabbing it here. Let's say it did work. I could hit backspace to delete the parts I don't want. But if the magic wand isn't working, I then have the option to go into the quick selection tool. And I can left click and drag across my screen to grab parts of the image that I want. Again, it's automatically grabbed this darker blue part here. So what I can do is I can go up to the tool options bar and I can hit less selection, and I can put this selection out on the edge of the flower and clean this up. Let's say something like this happens where you've accidentally deleted part of the selection that you wanted to keep. I can just flop that back to the plus and go in and try again. You can edit how much the tolerance is, so I can change the size of the selection. I can drop it down to really tiny. I can make it really big, and this will edit how much is grabbed as you go. This also works with the magic wand. So let's say I go to the magic wand, I select the black part of the image, and I see that this blue part here has been selected. I can go to the quick selection tool, and I can push this, switch to minus, and I can push the selection out. So whenever you're working with the selection tools, you can switch back to the quick selection to be able to edit how it's been grabbed. Above the magic wand tool and below the marquee tool, there's this other icon that looks like a lasso, keyboard shortcut L. And in this, you have some free selection options, free hand selection. So the lasso tool, you can left click and drag, and it will allow you to grab a specific shape that you want to select. You can go to the polygon lasso tool, which if you drop left click spots will create straight lines. You just have to go back to the original spot and you can create a selection and hit Control D again. Or you can go to the magnetic lasso tool where the selection smart grabs the edges. And part of me is left clicking and dragging around my screen. And as you can see, it's creating these little pin drops where the edge of the object is. And this gives you a little bit of assistance as you're working. So you don't have to be perfectly accurate the way you would with the lasso tool. Now, let's say something like this happens. It's stuck on you and you can't get rid of it. You can hit Enter on your keyboard and it will create the selection. And then you can hit Control D to deselect the area. For this specific example here, let's say I want to get the flower cut out from the black background. I'd probably go with using the Magic Wand tool and then switching it to the quick selection, putting it on the minus. I can turn up the sizing of this a little bit and pushing out the selection of the blue petals so that now the marching ants are in the black area and this is the area that is not selected. So when you see the marching ants on the outside edges like this, how it goes around the sides here, and then it's filled in over here around the flower, you know that the black part is selected, not the flower part. And I'm just going to hit backspace to delete it. And then I can hit Control D. And now my flower is separated. Notice this isn't perfect. So some of this isn't grabbed well. If this happens to you, just hit Control Z, Control Alt Z, and give it another shot. So those are some of your options with the selection tools.